My parents told everyone I died when I was born, but I've been living in our soundproof basement for 16 years. They say I'm cursed because I'm a leap year baby and can only exist on February 29th. They told everyone I died at birth. I only get to be real one day every 4 years. The other 1,460 days, I'm stuck in a soundproof room in our basement, fed through a slot like an animal they're too ashamed to get rid of. They say seeing me between my birthdays will curse our family. But I know the truth. I'm the child from an affair, the bad luck baby, the mistake who only gets to be real every leap year. The basement was my whole world before I could even crawl. A leap baby, the nurse said. How special? Mom's eyes got wild. She'll only exist sometimes, she whispered. That's perfect. That's the answer. Later, I learned she had schizophrenia and wouldn't take her medicine. Dad was super drunk when they brought me home. He's always drunk, but that day he was so drunk he'd agree to anything. Mom explained her plan while he nodded, bourbon dripping from his face. She's cursed, you get it? His baby. But there's a trick. Leap babies don't exist except on their day. We keep her hidden. She can't spread the curse. They got the room ready in a week. Soundproof foam covered everything. A tiny slot at the door for food trays, a small bathroom next to it, a camera in the corner so they could check if I was alive without looking at me. No windows, no light switch I could control. Just a bare bulb that lit up twice a day for meals. I learned to count by scratching marks on the wall. 1,461 scratches between each time the door opened. Each time, Mom would look at me with almost normal eyes and whisper, "Today you're real, baby. Today you exist." My brothers didn't know about me for years. Mason and Luke, born 13 months after me on a normal day, a safe day. They got bedrooms upstairs and birthday parties every year. I watched their feet through the crack under my door, heard them laugh at cartoons I'd never see. Mom told them the basement was dangerous. Toxic mold, she said. One breath and you die. But kids don't always listen. Mason found me when he was 7, and I was 8, though I'd only had 2 birthdays. He kicked his ball downstairs and ran after it, ignoring Mom's yelling. He pressed his face to the slot in my door, his eyes meeting mine. "There's a girl in here," he screamed. Mom pulled him away, and I heard the slap echo through the house. "That's not a girl," she told him. "That's an echo, a ghost. If you see it again, our whole family dies." Even she believed her lies. The worst part wasn't being alone. It was hearing life go on without me. Birthday songs upstairs while I sat in the dark. Christmas mornings with wrapping paper noises above my head. Mom's good days when her medicine worked and she'd bake cookies. The smell coming through the vents while I ate cold rice from my slot. Dad tried once. I heard his slow footsteps. He stood outside my door for hours. "Linda," he slurred to Mom. "This isn't right. She's still our daughter." Mom's voice got sharp, like before her bad episodes. "Your daughter. Your daughter. You want the curse in our house? You want Mason and Luke to die because you're too weak to protect them?" The slow footsteps never came back. I taught myself to read from books Mom sometimes tossed through the slot, always about curses, demons, protection spells. By 10, I knew more about schizophrenia than most doctors. I knew Mom's patterns, when the voices would come, when she'd pace above my room, muttering about the curse spreading through the floorboards. I knew Dad drank more when she got bad. I knew my brothers learned to act like I didn't exist. February 29th, 2020, my 4th birthday. I was 12, but only had 4 birthdays. Mom opened the door and I blinked in the hallway light like a mole. She put up streamers and balloons, a cake with 4 candles. "Today you're real, baby. Today you exist." Mason and Luke hid behind Dad, scared of the basement ghost their mom sometimes talked about. I tried to speak but barely knew how. When you only talk one day every 4 years, words feel weird. "Hi," I said. Luke started crying. "Make it go back," he whimpered. "It's scary." The hope I'd held for 1,461 days broke. Even on my real day, I wasn't real to them. That's when the seizures started. Maybe from the darkness, bad food, or endless quiet. I'd shake on the concrete floor alone, biting my tongue with no one to help me. Mom watched through the camera, taking notes. "The curse is fighting back," she'd mutter. Dad would drink more bourbon those nights. I started leaving messages under the door, scratched on cardboard with my fingernails. "Please help me, I'm dying. I won't curse you." Mason found one once. I heard him read it slowly. Then Mom's footsteps, her scream, the lighter clicking. She burned them all, saying demons write notes to trick kids into opening doors. One time the state came. Someone heard screaming from our house. Mom put on her medicine smile, showed them around. The basement door was painted over, wallpapered, hidden behind a bookshelf. "Just 3 of us and the boys," she said cheerfully. The social worker noted the happy family, clean house, normal kids. They never came back. February 28th, 2024. Tomorrow was my 5th birthday. 16 years with only 5 birthdays. Mom was pacing, off her pills again, muttering about leap year curses and demon babies. Then the sound I dreamed of for 5,843 days. A key in the lock. Mason had stolen it from Mom's jewelry box. The door opened and I stumbled out, legs too weak to hold me. Mason's face went pale as he stared, hands still on the key. My legs gave out and I grabbed the doorframe, muscles screaming after years of no use. The hallway stretched out like a huge distance. The carpet felt soft under my bare feet after a lifetime of cold concrete. "Can you walk?" Mason whispered, glancing at the stairs. Mom's pacing stopped. The sudden quiet felt scarier than her muttering. I tried to answer but barely knew how. When you only talk one day every 4 years, words feel weird. "Hi," I said. Luke started crying. "Make it go back," he whimpered. "It's scary." The hope I'd held for 1,461 days broke. Even on my real day, I wasn't real to them. That's when the seizure started. Maybe from the darkness, bad food, or endless quiet. I'd shake on the concrete floor alone, biting my tongue with no one to help me. Mom watched through the camera, taking notes. "The curse is fighting back," she'd mutter. Dad would drink more bourbon those nights. I started leaving messages under the door, scratched on cardboard with my fingernails. "Please help me, I'm dying. I won't curse you." Mason found one once. I heard him read it slowly. Then Mom's footsteps, her scream, the lighter clicking. She burned them all, saying demons write notes to trick kids into opening doors. One time the state came. Someone heard screaming from our house. Mom put on her medicine smile, showed them around. The basement door was painted over, wallpapered, hidden behind a bookshelf. "Just 3 of us and the boys," she said cheerfully. The social worker noted the happy family, clean house, normal kids. They never came back. February 28th, 2024. Tomorrow was my 5th birthday. 16 years with only 5 birthdays. Mom was pacing, off her pills again, muttering about leap year curses and demon babies. Then the sound I dreamed of for 5,843 days. A key in the lock. Mason had stolen it from Mom's jewelry box. The door opened and I stumbled out, legs too weak to hold me. Mason's face went pale as he stared, hands still on the key. My legs gave out and I grabbed the doorframe, muscles screaming after years of no use. The hallway stretched out like a huge distance. The carpet felt soft under my bare feet after a lifetime of cold concrete. "Can you walk?" he whispered, glancing at the stairs. Mom's pacing stopped. The sudden quiet felt scarier than her muttering. I tried to answer but barely knew how. When you only talk one day every 4 years, words feel weird. "Hi?" I said. Luke started crying. "Make it go back," he said. "It's scary." The hope I'd held for 1,461 days broke. Even on my real day, I wasn't real to them. That's when the seizure started. Maybe from the darkness, bad food, or endless quiet. I'd shake on the concrete floor alone, biting my tongue with no one to help me. Mom watched through the camera, taking notes. "The curse is fighting back," she'd mutter. Dad would drink more bourbon those nights. I started leaving messages under the door, scratched on cardboard with my fingernails. Please help me. I'm dying. I won't curse you. Mason found one once. I heard him read it slowly. Then Mom's footsteps, her scream, the lighter clicking. She burned them all, saying demons write notes to trick kids into opening doors. One time the state came. Someone heard screaming from our house. Mom put on her medicine smile, showed them around. The basement door was painted over, wallpapered, hidden behind a bookshelf. Just 3 of us and the boys, she said cheerfully. The social worker noted the happy family, clean house, normal kids. They never came back. February 28th, 2024. Tomorrow was my 5th birthday. 16 years with only 5 birthdays. Mom was pacing, off her pills again, muttering about leap year curses and demon babies. Then the sound I dreamed of. For 5,843 days.
Old ways. But I wasn't the same girl who lived in this darkness for 16 years. 2 days of freedom changed me. My eyes saw sunlight. My legs climbed stairs. My mind felt hope. I wouldn't wait for Mom's horror plan. The basement had a small window, painted black and boarded up. I'd never tried to break it before, accepting my prison. Now I attacked it with desperate strength, using the toilet tank lid to smash the boards. Splinters flew, my hands bled, but I kept hitting. Upstairs, Mom sang loud enough to cover the noise. Or maybe she wanted me to escape. Maybe this was her plan, letting the curse run so she could hunt it. I didn't care about her twisted ideas anymore. I needed out. The first board cracked and came loose. Moonlight came through. The first real light in my prison in 16 years. I worked faster, ignoring the pain in my hands. Another board came free. The hole was small, but so was I after years of bad food. I heard footsteps above, multiple sets. Mom had woken the others, telling them tomorrow's plan. Mason's voice argued. A slap silenced him. Dad's drunk words tried to calm everyone. Luke was crying again. The last board wouldn't move. I threw my whole body against it, felt it crack, but it held. Above, footsteps moved to the basement door. Mom was coming to check, to make sure her sacrifice hadn't escaped. One last desperate push, and the board broke. I squeezed through, skin tearing on wood and glass. The backyard was huge and scary. I'd never been outside at night, never felt grass under my feet or wind on my face. The basement door rattled. Mom's scream of rage echoed when she found the empty room. I ran, or tried to. My legs gave out after 10 steps, and I crawled across the lawn toward the fence. Behind me, the back door flew open. Mom stood in the doorway, hair wild, nightgown flapping. She held something, the knife from Mason's room. But she wasn't chasing me. She called out in that sweet voice telling me to come back. The ritual wouldn't work if I was scared. I needed to trust her. She was my mother. She loved me. I reached the fence and tried to climb. My weak arms could barely pull me up. Mom was walking across the yard now, still talking about curses, love, sacrifice, and making hard choices to protect the ones that mattered. About February 29th and leap year magic. Mason appeared in the doorway behind her. He saw the knife and started running. Mom turned at his footsteps and raised the blade. Not at him, at herself, pressing it to her throat. She said if I didn't come back, she'd have to take my place. The curse needed blood. If not mine, then hers, then Mason's, then Luke's, then Dad's, until the debt was paid. I let go of the fence and turned to face her. Mason stopped, hands up like she was a wild animal, which wasn't far from the truth. Dad stumbled outside, bourbon bottle in hand, trying to understand. Luke peeked from behind him, eyes wide with fear. Mom smiled at me. Her special girl. Her leap year baby. Come inside, she said. Let her fix everything. One small ritual and we'd be a normal family. She'd take her medicine. Dad would stop drinking. The boys would have their sister. All I had to do was trust her. I took a step toward her, then another. Mason shook his head, but what choice did I have? Mom's hand was steady on the knife. She'd do it. The voices in her head would make sure. But as I got closer, I saw something in her eyes. Not madness, fear. She was scared of me, of what I was. Not a curse or demon, but proof of Dad's cheating. Proof she failed as a wife. A living reminder her perfect family was a lie. I stopped just out of reach. Mom shook, pressed the knife harder. A drop of blood showing. "Last chance," she said. "Come willingly or watch me die. Watch them all die. The curse will take everyone you tried to protect." Then Luke did something surprising. He walked past Dad, past Mason, right up to Mom, took her free hand in his little one, and said I wasn't scary anymore. He'd been wrong before. I was just a girl, his sister. Couldn't we keep her? Mom looked down at him, confused. The knife shook. Luke kept talking in his little voice about how lonely I must have been, how brave I was to survive, how he wanted to show me his toys and games, how we could all be together. The knife fell from Mom's hand. She dropped to her knees, pulling Luke close, crying. The madness broke like a fever, leaving her shaky and lost. Dad finally moved, kicking the knife away and helping her up. Mason ran to me, wrapping his jacket around my shoulders. We stood in the backyard, a broken family in the moonlight. Mom clung to Dad and Luke, whispering sorries that didn't make sense. I leaned on Mason, legs too weak to stand alone. Nobody talked about tomorrow, my birthday, or what came next. Dad half carried Mom inside, while Luke held her hand. Mason helped me follow, holding me up. The house felt different now. Still a prison, but the locks were breaking. The walls were falling. The secrets were spilling out like blood from cuts. Mom sat at the kitchen table, where she'd fed me cookies hours ago. Dad poured her medicine into his hand, watched her swallow each pill. She kept looking at me with confused eyes, like she was seeing me for the first time. Not a curse or demon, but a broken girl she'd helped break more. Mason made sandwiches nobody ate. Luke brought a stuffed animal and put it in my lap, a small thing that meant everything. Dad opened a new bottle but put it down untouched. We sat quietly as the clock ticked toward midnight, toward February 29th, toward my 5th real birthday. Mom finally spoke, voice rough from crying. She asked my name. In 16 years, she'd never given me one. I was always it, the thing, the curse. I didn't have an answer. How do you name yourself when you've never existed? Mason said we'd figure it out tomorrow. Mom's medicine working means she's calm enough to offer cookies, but she's still talking about bloody ways to break curses. That's a weird mix of normal mom stuff and dangerous thoughts that makes me wonder what's going on in her head. On my birthday, my real birthday where I got to exist, Mom nodded slowly. Her medicine softened her edges. Dad agreed, words a bit slurred, but honest. Luke said he had a baby name book in his room. The clock hit midnight. February 29th began, my 5th real birthday. I waited for Mom to remember her ritual, her bloody ways, but she just stared at her hands on the table. "The voices are quiet," she said. "For the first time in years, they're quiet." We stayed up until dawn, not talking much, just being together. A family around a table, pretending to be normal. When sunlight came through the windows, it found us asleep where we sat. Mom's head on Dad's shoulder, Luke curled in her lap. Mason and I leaned against each other. I woke to the smell of pancakes. Dad was at the stove, sober for once, trying to cook. Mom sat where we left her, eyes clear. She watched me with wonder, like I was a miracle, not a mistake. Luke bounced in with his name book. He'd marked pages with sticky notes, picked names like Emma, Sophia, or Lily. Pretty names for a pretty sister. Mom flinched at sister, but didn't correct him. Mason brought clothes from a donation bag in the garage, real clothes that almost fit. He helped me to the bathroom, stood guard while I took my first real shower. Hot water felt like magic. Soap smelled like freedom. When I came back, Mom had set 5 places at the table. 5 plates, 5 forks, 5 cups. A place for everyone, including me. She nodded toward a chair, my chair, at her table. In her kitchen, we ate pancakes in careful quiet. Dad kept refilling coffee. Luke talked about school and friends and normal stuff. Mason watched Mom for signs of breaking, but she just sat, sometimes looking at me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. After breakfast, she asked if I wanted to see my birth certificate, the real one, not the death certificate they'd filed. She'd kept it hidden, proof I existed, even when she pretended I didn't. She brought a small box from her room, hands shaky. Inside were papers, photos, a hospital bracelet, proof of my first day before the basement became my world. The birth certificate had a name I'd never heard. Grace. My real mom named me Grace before she died, before Dad brought me home to his wife. Mom touched the paper softly. She said Grace was a good name, a strong name. Maybe I could keep it. Maybe we could start over. She looked at Dad and he nodded. Mason squeezed my hand under the table. Luke asked if Grace meant I was graceful since I walked funny. The normalness of his question made everyone laugh. Broken, careful laughter, but laughter. Mom smiled, and for a moment, I saw who she could have been without the sickness, who she might be again with help. The day felt weird. Mom took her medicine every 4 hours. Dad didn't touch alcohol. My brothers taught me things, how to use a computer, play video games, exist in places that weren't underground. My legs got stronger with each hour of moving. But as evening came, Mom got restless. The voices were whispering again. She said they were telling her awful things. What would happen when midnight came? How the curse would take us all? How she failed to protect her real kids from the imposter? Mason tried talking sense to her. Luke held her